Doctor No was a pretty cool movie. I think even if it's not the best quality film, I think it's important in the sense that how iconic it is. You know, you have the gun barrel sequence, which is extremely cool even back then, and you also have the Bond, James Bond. You have the Waltham. I'm sorry, I forgot to mispronounce it. The Wolfram PPK. So you're being introduced.
The Walther. Walther.
Oh, I'm sorry, Walther. Sorry, Walther PPK, stuff like that. So, and what's great is you're really seeing the signatures of Bond in the very first movie. So, I think that's the best part of it. And I liked how dark it was for a first film. It wasn't kid friendly. It was really dark. I remember my American foreign policy professor was used the film to show how dark it was when he shoots the professor who's trying to kill Bond, and just bang, bang, bang. It's like just how blasé Sean Connery was. It showed the really good sense of character, how killer, how brutal Bond could be.
It's a Smith and Wesson, and you've had your six.
Yep, that was a good line. Poof.
The funny thing about that, the way he like casually kills him like that, I remember specifically in the novels, they state that Bond actually hates killing people like that.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's like I think it felt like dirty business to him, like it was unpleasant.
Oh, okay.
Like he was like unfair, like they should have at least had a chance to shoot back.
Cold blood, I believe they call it, is when you kill someone who has no way of defending themselves.
Right.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. That's pretty cool.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go. Go ahead. I spoke the thing.
Okay. Doctor No. Let's see. I only saw Doctor No last year. I just saw parts of it on TV and watching it. Yeah, it's kind of like you can see that this was like the first movie. It wasn't the highest budget, but it's sort of like I think that film was looked back upon. They look back on that movie as well. This was the first, so you can give it some slack, but even still, it's still a good movie and plenty of good scenes in it. What to talk about it? Obviously, the gun barrel is, iconic. The James Bond theme, written by Monty Norman, orchestrated by John Barry. The villain, just the kind of really Cold War space race atmosphere that it was set in, because it was '62. And the introduction, Bond's introduction, Moneypenny's introduction, M's introduction. Felix Leiter's introduction, and I think Jack Lord was the best Felix Leiter of the '60s, probably like one of the top Felix Leiters in the series.
Yeah. Looking, I think also was interesting is that although there's a lot of credit to Goldfinger, I think Doctor No was essentially the original blueprint. I think what made the difference between Goldfinger and I don't want to go jump ahead, but just like between Doctor No and Goldfingers is that Goldfinger's a little more goofy, yet a more memorable villain in the sense where Doctor No, in a sense that the only really defining feature of him is that he had robotic arms, which I think was a shame that they wasted. It was a waste, but then again, it was $1 million budget, and what they did with that $1 million budget for Doctor No was very impressive.
And of course, we do have to acknowledge that Mr. Connery was not the first actor to play James Bond. That honor goes to Barry Nelson years prior in '54 for Casino Royale. So
Jimmy Bond.
So you know what? If you want to make a bet, make a bet with your friends and say, okay, for $50, who was the first actor to play James Bond? Easy 50, because I can guarantee you they're going to say Sean Connery.
I don't
Jimmy
know.
Bond. Jimmy Bond. Jimmy
Card
Bond.
since Jimmy Bond. Hey, aren't you the fellow who was shot at? I was the guy who missed. Something like that. I forgot the line. Screwed it up. I'm sorry.
No problem. I it was also interesting that looking at that film, it was interesting that for Sean Connery, being that he, a lot of women wanted him. It was really interesting that they really didn't have any fun time. He didn't have much of fun times with the ladies. He did flirt, but that was about it for that film. And he did get to a Bond girl at the end of the film, but that was pretty much it. It's kind of like, seriously, it's almost like the only time him and Timothy Dalton were kind of like on even ground. The next film, anything goes.
And he wore a toupee. Every single Bond movie, that was a toupee.
Yeah.
He was naturally bald. He was naturally balding, so he had to wear a toupee.
You'd never know that because of how well it stuck to his head.
Yeah, that was much one hell of a toupee.
The only one that looked bad was Diamonds Are Forever.
Well, that movie was not that great all around. So.
I'm doing my feedback.
Who? Well, Dr. No, I always felt that Dr. No had amazing build-up, but it was kind of anticlimactic at the end, because like 10 minutes after he finds out the villain's master plan, he stops it,
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, there was like so much build up. There was so much exploration. Because I remember, like they'd spent like 30 minutes exploring the island, and then Bond and his partner gets killed, and then him and the lady get captured. It was interesting that they were using radioactivity. I might mix this up. I don't know if there's radioactivity within the flames, the flamethrower, or the island itself was.
The island was radioactive.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The island.
Yeah, because they were using atomic power to power their machines because it was harder to trace.
But
oh, okay, gotcha.
And obviously, there's several reasons for that. First is they only had $1 million budget, so they couldn't go all out with finale. And also, after reading the book, I knew why. Because that book had a much larger climax, but there was no way they could do some of the stuff in the book, in the movie with the budget they had. So no, I can understand that. Go ahead.
I give the movie credit for one thing. I think Dr. No's death in the movie was much better than his death in the novel.
Oh, hell yeah. Definitely. I agree with that.
I felt bad. I was disappointed with the villain. Because the villain, you build up with the villain, for example, the scene where he crushes that bronze pot, or I forgot what it was, but
it was like a little figurine or something like that.
Yeah, but just how simple he crushes it. But then when him and Bond where Bond and the Dr. No fight, it was a bit disappointing. It would have been pretty cool to see him. You see him kind of like bang on the wall as he's sliding, so he bangs on the wall. You see his fingertips dig into the wall, and he pulls himself, climbs out. That would have been pretty like whoa, kind of thing. But again,
well, I thought it was kind of cool how they made his arms be the reason why he died.
Oh yeah. I agree. It's just that I wish they could have done something more with the arms, because that was like the only scenes. Okay, that's it.
Well, in the original novel, they weren't metal hands; they were pincers.
Crap. So he's just going to do a crap walk? Haters going to hate. Sorry.
What do we know about this? What do we know about this Chinese character? Nothing except his name, Dr. No.
Yeah,
that was a good line.
It was actually really pretty neat that the James Bond theme was originally called the Dr. No theme, man. It was in the sense that oh shoot, shame on me. John Barry was the guy who made. Yeah, John Barry.
Yeah, Monty Norman wrote. Actually, it was. I think you're probably right. That it was originally written as the Dr. No theme, but Monty Norman wrote the melody. And then John Barry did the orchestration. Of course, that was years later. That was became a court issue. But I think they've settled that that both Monty Norman and John Barry have co-authorship of that.
Yep, the theme, part of the theme, da 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 da, came from a song from another film that I think either did not happen or was just a minor film, but they borrowed the song. I wouldn't say borrow the song, but they used that's part of the theme I think then they just, but all they did was sped it up, gave a little more guitar and other things to make it really fit the James Bond aspect. But in a sense, it was really, in a sense that I think Dark No really again set up the blueprint of how you make a Bond film.
Yeah, the original Monty Norman composition, he actually wrote it. There's a documentary out there where you see what the original lyrics were, because it was a kind of it was almost like an Indian folk song. Like they play it on sitars, the dun 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 dun, and it had lyrics like "I see him and he sees me" or something like that. So it was almost like it was like a little Indian tune, a little folk tune, like the cat crawled. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. He wrote lyrics for it, but I don't know what it was.
The only reason why I'm laughing is not because how you did it. Was like he sees me, I see him. I could just see Bond singing that. He's against the wall. He's looking at the enemy's looking at him. He's looking at him. He sings that part.
Please don't see me. Oh, please.
It's kind of like Emperor's New Groove, that scene, but except it was the Mission Impossible theme.
Oh yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
So I think for me, Dr. No is probably one. I know it's the earliest, and despite the budget, the small budget, I think it's one of Sean Connery's best films. He's kind of like George Washington of the James Bond films. It set the template. And where I think it gave a chance for Goldfinger to kind of improve, maybe, I don't know, put a quotation around it, improve on it, or build further on it that the further Bond films would do.
Well, I think From Russia with Love did that with the pre-title sequence.
Yeah. But yeah, true. But I think it's just at the same time though. It's just that before, yeah. They improved it, but I think it's just that with Goldfinger you have I don't want to jump ahead again, but just you have the iconic or this goofy villain. He has this one little quality to him where Goldfinger is I like gold. And
right, they have a quirk, and the guy from The Spy Who Loved Me is obsessed with water and so on and so on.
And in Doctor No, you don't really see that. He really was. He didn't say, "Oh, I love radiation." He's an expert, but he does like, "Oh, I love radiation. I could bathe in it," or anything like that. In a sense that his arms, were kind of like his characteristic, and they really didn't. I think for good better, they didn't really focus on the arms so much, where you don't see him. Okay, he's going to use his arms to crush people. I think it just.
Well. He never really had a whole lot of screen time. I mean, you only see him in like 3 major scenes, or should I rephrase that? He's only an important part of 3 major scenes. One where you just hear his voice because he's given the professor the spider.
Yeah.
The second scene where they're having dinner together, and then the third scene where they're in the control room, and then that's the scene where he dies.
Yeah. I liked, and in those 3 scenes, what was great was the actor and the script did a great job making him a very potent villain. Because, for example, when I think the Bond girl gets pulled out of the room, you see Bond get up and he kind of sits back down, and Dr. No says, "I suggest you put that knife back on the table." I forgot how you said, but I suggest you put that knife back on the table.
I believe it was something like, oh hell, what was? I don't remember, but he did catch the knife.
He also said something about the wine bottle, like that's a bottle of something. It'd be a shame to waste it, or something like that.
Oh yeah, he says that. Yeah, and Doctor knows. Bond picks up the wine bottle, the knock some heads in with it. Then he sits back down, and then he attempts to slide the knife,
which was bit of an homage, sort of an alteration, not so much an homage, an alteration of what happened in the novel, because in the novel he actually succeeds in keeping the knife. So people who had read the novel and then watched that movie, they were kind of a bit of a little twist for them.
Yeah, that was. I think it was cool. I think in the sense that they did a great job with the villain. So it's like,
considering how little screen time he had, yeah, I'd say they did a good job.
Yeah, and especially the fact is that Dr. No, it's the title of the movie.
And No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, he's one of the most famous Bond villains, and he's probably had some of the least amount of screen time out of all of them. That's something,
I just want.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I did some reading on the Monty Norman theme, and according to this, it was inspired by a song called "Good Sign, Bad Sign" from a book called "A House for Mr. Bismuth."
Yes,
and the actual composition that Monty Norman wrote, the title was "Dum Diddy Dum Dum."
Yep.
Dum dee dum 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 dee dum.
So simple, but so great. Do you want to go move on to From Russia with Love, guys? Or
well, I just have one last thing to say about Dr. No before we move on. It was a pretty good movie overall. You can give it some. It had a few problems. But you can give it a bit of leniency because they were just starting out and they really weren't sure where they were going to go with this when it first started. But even now, there's still some bits. Even forgiving the fact that it's the first movie, there's still some bits that I don't know. They feel like a mistake to me.
oh, like what?
3 blind mice for one.
Oof, yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. Here's this really awesome team. The next thing you know, 3 blind mice. What the heck?
Well, like I said last time, at least it wasn't on it. At least it didn't go into underneath the mango tree.
Oof. True. Very true. But they did it at the end of the film, I thought.
They ended with the yeah, they did. They ended with the James Bond theme, and then it went into underneath the mango tree. But so
I was going to say that they did play underneath the mango tree and on Her Majesty's Secret Service when he was in his office.
oh yeah, he has Honey Rider's knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also think, I know it was a major part of the novel, but I really think they should have cut out the dragon bit because it just looks so goofy.
Yeah, and also, it really leads nowhere. It's not like where Bond has a second rematch with it and he blows it up or uses it for something bigger.
Because in the novel, he actually used it to escape the island. There's a big chase scene featuring that tank, him driving the tank. But
You're a bit too quiet, Webman.
Yeah, you need to.
I said that that tank was featured in the novel and a big chase scene at the end, but obviously because of the budget, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which is why I really think they should have just cut it out and said the island is dangerous. We can't go there because you might get killed or something.
Yeah, so when people have gone there, then they never returned. I think that would have worked. Yeah, but I think at the same time, I think the big worry is that they were trying to appeal to the Bond fans. Who they knew would probably go see the film. They were probably trying to do their best. It's kind of like a darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of situation where, for example, the knife, like the Bond successfully hiding the knife. It's a little neat twist to it, but then when you do the dragon, it's kind of like, you see Spoonie screaming betrayal.
Betray me.
Yes.
Betrayal!
Is there anything else?
There was no fire-breathing dragon truck in my movie. Betrayal!
What are your guys? What's your favorite? Anyone have a favorite line from Dr. No?
Nothing where I stood, you have your 6. I love that line.
I liked "Where were you measured for this, bud?" by Taylor Savile Row. I got mine in Virginia, Langley, Felix Leiter, CIA.
I like the build-up to the introduction to the line Bond, James Bond, when Sean Connery first says it. It was just
I'm your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond. And whatever how you say, Sean Connery did that, but it was it's just awesome because then you get the Bond, you have the Dr. No theme play right behind it in a sense, and it moved in such a quick fashion. It moved from the Dr. No theme to the James Bond theme. It's just like, that was awesome.
I guess my favorite line of dialogue from the movie would probably have to be, oh hell, I don't think I have one. Like, not saying the movie doesn't have notable quotes. It does, but I can't really pick out one of the bunch that really makes me think that's my favorite.
That's maybe all up above.
No, I'm just looking. I work for Spectre. I work for Spectre, Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion.
Yeah, that was neat. Was that actually an idea from the movies or from the book?
Yeah, that was an idea of the movies. Spectre, I believe, in the novels was like fairly still recent at the time. I think Thunderball the novel had like just come out.
Yeah, Spectre was only introduced in Thunderball, and it only appeared in Thunderball, The Spy Who Loved Me, Majesty's Secret Service, and You Only Live Twice. That's it. That's the only novels it was featured in.
And then the other organization was SMERSH.
Yeah, but Russian KGB, pretty much.
Yeah, the death to spies thing.
Yeah, but obviously because of the Cold War, they didn't want to. No.
Yeah, they severely toned that down in that and many movies afterwards during because of the Cold War tension.
Yeah, we're gonna move to the From Russia with Love, or is there anything else?
Yeah, it's I think we've said our piece on Doctor No.
I think for me, From Russia with Love is one of my favorite films. It's on the top of my list. Just the only flaw with it was probably, unless someone corrects me, because I didn't see the point of the scene, the gypsy scene, the dispute with the two women that could have been taken out. But I just liked how I dig the gadgets. It was very, it was neat, but at the same time, it wasn't like you could tell, oh, okay, Bond's when you do this and that and you use this for this kind of thing. It was just kind of like, okay, interesting. How are they going to use it in the film kind of thing? The idea is like, it really felt like it was an espionage movie. So, okay, Bond kills this person in order to gain the trust or move to the next point with his mission.
Yeah, it also, like, I know Doctor knows what started the series, but From Russia with Love really was what put forward a lot of the mainstays of the series, like the pre-title sequence, the first gadget, the first real appearance of Q.
Oh yeah,
played by Desmond Llewellyn. I know Q was in the previous film, but they didn't call him Q, and it wasn't played by Desmond Llewellyn.
Yeah, I think also what's great is that for me is you had a sorry, I think it was one of the best films with the best build up to a villain. I mean, you have Red Grant,
Robert Shaw.
Yeah, Robert Shaw. It was a great build up. You see him in the beginning of the film. He takes out Bond. Everyone thinks, oh, Bond's dead. No, it's not. It's he's being trained. So we know right then and there he's being trained to kill Bond specifically. And I think the lady sucker punches Robert Shaw, and the guy takes it without flinching. And then later on, you see him an expert marksman during the gypsy fight scene. You just see him. I remember he has his the gun all over his arm, and it's just kind of like at hip level, and he's sitting there almost casually. It's almost like if there wasn't a fight scene, he was in an action scene or bigger action scene. It would look like it was a B movie because it's just boom, 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 and he was taking out everyone. So, and by the time it gets to the train, it's like who's going to win? And for me, that fight is the train fight sequence is probably one of my favorite fight sequences ever.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. From Russia with Love is it's my favorite Sean Connery movie. I think it's the best one that he did, and it was the one I agree with what you say. It was the one that really set the formula for the rest of the movies. The introduction of Q, introduction of Blofeld, further we get more details into Spectre, and in terms of the gadgets, I agree completely what you said about especially the briefcase in this movie, and it adds to a great deal of tension because that suitcase really isn't brought up a lot throughout the movie. I think once in a hotel room, Bond has to remember to turn the latches a certain way so he doesn't get gas in his face. So in that train car scene, when Bond looks to be in real trouble, you see the trunk on top of the on a rack or something like that, and oh, if Bond gets this guy to open up the case, he's gonna gas is gonna go in it. Gas is gonna He's gonna get blinded by this gas. So you were anticipating, like, okay, how's Bond gonna get him? Bond has to get that case, and we know he has to get that case. We know what the case will do, and so it's just kind of slow build up as he's trying to convince Grant to allow him to open up the case. And it was a great use of a gadget.
And it shows the Killy. Oh, you go, Michael. I talked enough.
Yeah, and the movie also brought in what I believe. I know in the previous movie, Dr. No, Bond also had like an assistant with Quarrel, the black guy, but this was Felix Leiter, but this was the movie where he first actually had like an actual secondary supporting guy that would really help him out with Karim Bey.
Oh yeah, and his character was really cool. His character? No, sorry, actually the actor. I'm sorry, the actor was dying from cancer. I think prostate cancer. And it was after it was a Herculaneum effort for him to finish the last couple of scenes. And what's really tragic was once they finished and he went to the hospital, he killed himself just to end the pain. So it was really, really heartbreaking. Yeah.
And his son went on to play the president of that country in License to Kill.
Oh, that's
the one who takes the bribes from Sanchez.
You mean the guy who, when in that one scene where he comes in all dressed up and he's all smiley taking a bribe?
Yeah, and he says, he says something like, "You're short," and Sanchez says something like, "Oh, just accept it." Like I'm deducting your pay because of some reason I forgot. Yeah, it's him.
That's actually cool. That's kind of cool.
And he ends up with was it Lupe, the Sanchez's girlfriend? I think her name was Lupe.
It was her girlfriend. I don't know the name, but yeah, it was his girlfriend.
Yeah, Bond says, "You and the president will be really happy."
Then he jumps into the pool.
Yeah. I liked also that in the sense that Robert Shaw, it's kind of like hinting at Robert Shaw could have been Bond eventually if Sean Connery didn't succeed or something like that. And I
don't know. Robert Shaw is a bit too blonde for my taste.
I see what you did there. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. But yeah, I think it was also great about it was that I think it was kind of like was a shame is that I was waiting for Tuco to kind of like pop into the train after the fight sequence. You see Grant slowly dying, or he's dead. And you see him just like, if you're gonna shoot, don't talk. So, and I just like in the sense that Grant's been trained so much to be the anti-Bond that once he has to drop on Bond, he wants to gloat in all these years of pain and suffering for himself to finally to really get the satisfaction. I broke Bond.
He's like one of the most realistic henchmen because all the other henchmen are just like silent monsters. Basically, like Jaws was essentially Frankenstein, and Oddjob was these really powerful, indestructible henchmen, and Grant was really like the most realistic of them all.
Yeah, he was just a dude, a really strong and skilled guy, but physically he didn't look abnormal or anything.
Yeah.
Although I think it's unfair to call him a henchman. He was the main villain.
Yeah, he was the villain.
Well,
wait, what was that?
I would argue more Rosa Klebb was the main villain.
But I think Robert Shaw upstaged her. I think that's what ended up happening. It's just that even though she's the main bad guy, Robert Shaw is the bigger threat in the sense that he's closer to Bond than she is. He knows what's exactly going on. He knows how to handle the situation, and in a sense that the villainess is relying on Shaw to take care of Bond.
Oh yeah, he was the guy who carried out the scheme that number 4 would came up with.
I know, Michael, you don't like blonde hair so much, but I think at the same time, the blonde hair for Robert Shaw in the film was a really great signet character. It's a very subtle characteristic. It's not like a, metal teeth, extreme tall, extremely short.
It's not that I dislike blonde hair. I'm just not too crazy about. I think he was too blonde to be a Bond.
I'm just joking with you. That's all. I liked that it was a very subtle characteristics. Like you could pick. It's okay. Oh, that's Shaw because he's blonde. It's like and everyone else has this black hair or brown hair. Here's Shaw with this very blonde hair. So you could really say, oh, here's how close. You could see how close he is, the bad guy, to Bond. And once the fight happens, it's really awesome because you had professional fighting, martial arts, and at the same time you have this. They end up going just pretty much wrestling, and I remember the scene where Shaw charges Sean Connery. Sean Connery grabs his head, and then Sean Connery just smashes him to the left, or to the right, to the left, to the right. And it was kind of like this is what it really is a close quarters fighting. It's part martial arts or whatever they use to fight another bad guy, and essentially the very basic of fighting skills. It just do whatever you can.
Well, speaking of that fight, actually they added in a bunch of sound effects because when they did it once, this fight's too quiet, it doesn't work too well, so they just added in a bunch of random sound effects to the fight. All the crashing noises and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with everything. Every film, I mean.
Yeah.
It's just something they mentioned on the commentary.
I think they also. Oh, sorry. I'll be quiet.
It's all right.
No, there was some feedback there.
Yeah, a little. But the thing that I liked about that fight scene, and this was a bit of a common thing with the earlier Bond films, is that there was no music playing.
Oh yeah.
It actually kind of made it feel like it was actually like it was really happening. It made it feel more realistic, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Same with the Goldfinger Oddjob fight. That whole sequence. The only time there's ever any music is when Bond's trying to defuse the bomb at the very end. But the whole scene with Oddjob is completely quiet. Like when
or the hat.
Yeah. When Oddjob's the little music that plays whenever he uses his hat. But when Bond is trying to get his handcuffs off and Oddjob's running down the stairs, that's really suspenseful because all you hear is those feet clattering down those stairs
and the humming of the bomb.
Yeah, the hum of the bomb and the clock ticking. That's all you hear. It's very tenseful, but let's not jump ahead just yet.
I think the flaw, because someone correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a long time since I heard it, but I really didn't like that gypsy fight sequence with the two ladies. I really didn't get it. I think
the gypsy scene was a prime example of it's in the novel, so we had to have it. It served no purpose. Nothing came of it. All it really did was just drag on.
That was just fan service.
But in all fairness, the only thing one thing I'll give it the scenes for is that it gives Robert Shaw's character even more menacing because how expert he was. I still remember he wasn't even doing what Webman's Daniel Craig's picture's doing, but he's just kind of like casual. It was just how he just shot people, bang, bang.
Yeah. That was the only. I completely agree with you. It's a very pointless segment, and the only thing it ever achieved is when Grant saves Bond's life. Like he's my target. You're not going to kill him, and that's the only point to the whole sequence.
Yeah, and I think it
The,
also
the whole fight scene was good, but from a plot point of view, not much really happened there.
yeah. I think also in a sense, looking at it, not only just shows Shaw's an expert marksman, but it shows the character's Achilles' heel. He can't let Bond go. He wants to do it himself. And if he let Bond die, that was it. But at the same time,
I'll get this fish for you. The head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
we're going to need a bigger train.
Well,
I need more wire.
well, go ahead.
But I also I'm sorry. I also like the helicopter sequence. That was pretty. I don't know how they did that, but or I think could have been angle misdirection in the sense that you think Bond or the stuntman's direct near the helicopter, but what could have happened was the helicopter was a couple feet away from the stuntman, but the stuntman dove just to show that how close it was. That was really cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Rushmore Love, the whole Red Grant for pursuing Bond thing, protecting him, that wasn't in the original novel.
Oh.
In the original novel, it was just Smarsh trying to frame Bond, and they used that thing he was after, the decoder, whatever it's called. They used that as bait. To get him with this Russian girl, and then they would kill both the Russian girl and Bond and make it look like a suicide because he was having an affair with an enemy agent.
Gotcha.
But the movie changed that to to Spectre wanting that decoder for themselves. So, they used that Russian agent to lure Bond there so he can get to the decoder. Then when they're fleeing, Red Grant can come in, kill them both, and take it for himself. Killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I believe Spectre's plan in that movie was to have all that stuff happening, kill James Bond, kill the woman, take the Lecter, and then ransom it back to the Russians.
Yeah.
And
I personally think it's a big improvement over the novel.
Yeah, same here. And I think it fits more to the Cold War standards at the time because that's how it worked. And I think it was kind of like what was great with if they had not handled Red Grant as well as they did, it could have been pretty boring film because the bigger villains of the film really don't play a big part. And the only part was one guy is really good at chess. He's a great mastermind and stuff, but then he screws up. He gets stabbed with the poison-tipped shoe knife, and that was about it. And the second lady, she attempts to handle things herself, and
she had her kicks.
Hey-oh.
Actually,
horrible woman.
Speaking of that fight with whatever her name is, the woman,
Kleb.
That's actually in the novel. You know how in Dr. No they said it's gun jam? That's the fight where his Beretta jammed.
Oh, and he's supposed to die. He was supposed to have died or something like that because she succeeds.
She doesn't.
Right?
She succeeds in poisoning him, but they were able to save him. Though they save him off, I guess, not off screen, off novel, like in between Some Rush with Love and Dr. No.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's why I had to switch the gun and Dr. No.
Yeah.
Like the From Russia with Love. The From Russia with Love novel ends with Bond just falling unconscious.
Come on, what,
I
man?
can really hear myself.
Come on, what, man? Easy, man.
Huh?
You're making Michael go Phil Collins on us.
I remember. I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? First time. The last time we ever met.
This
All
one.
right. But One thing this is the thing that actually I always remember the most about From Russia with Love, is that it really establishes the Spectre organization as a group with a lot of power behind it. Because you see the higher ups, you see them have their secret meetings. You see they have those special rings on their finger. You see one of their islands where where they're training an entire army of people who are well armed with guns and flamethrowers and a whole bunch of other things.
And I could dig that. Seriously, I know looks ridiculous and so forth, but if you look at for example, like the old World War II era, heck, actually, even now, if you want to argue, the SAS, the special forces training from all these countries, it's just like that. Except for this is a little much more brutal in a sense, but I can dig that. And I think that's one reason why I think this is one of my favorite films, is that it has the gadgets, it has these things, but they do a very good job making sure it's not as predictable as other Bond films, and they're grounded in realism.
Go ahead.
The one thing I really liked about it was when it came to establishing Blofeld, or Number One as they call him, because they didn't release his name yet, as a character, like, they really do a good job of making him intimidating, despite the fact that you never see his face and he's stroking a white Persian cat the whole time. Which, due to the fact how often the whole stroking a cat thing, not seeing their face, has been parodied, you'd think that'd be kind of hard to take seriously nowadays.
Yeah, and also I was curious. Was it the line? Okay, I forgot the line. It's like he strikes that line. I forgot. Is that from that film or Thunderball? I know Thunderball uses it in its main theme. But I mixed that line up with From Russia with Love or Thunderball. But I thought it was a great line.
What, in the opening theme?
Yeah. No.
It was Thunderball.
No, I'm trying to say the famous line. I forgot how the line went. Here's his fish. It's like it's weak and so forth, and he strikes, and boom, you see the fish die.
I believe it's like
That's in the
Siamese fighting fish, fascinating creatures, brave but on the whole stupid. But except for the occasional one as we have here, where he waits and lets the other two fight until the survivor is so exhausted that he cannot defend himself. And like Spectre, he strikes.
Yes, I like how you said that. He strikes part. He had this kind of like this roll of the tongue on the R. It was like, that was cool. And I also like the line. I thought it was a neat, funny. It was a big joke against the Soviet Union about, are your clocks always correct? Is your time on your clock right? Yes, our time on your clock is always right. And boom, of course it is.
He doesn't even just ask him once. He asks him twice. It's like, is that the correct time? Yes. Are you sure that's the correct time? Russian clocks are always.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Red wine with fish.
Yes.
Well, that should have told me something.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was on the Bond woman. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Okay, I think it was also great was that the Bond girl was also very developed in a sense that she was kind of like she's actually kind of like in a sense a triple agent because she's supposed to help Bond. She's supposed to help the Soviet Union, and she's also supposed to help the Spectre organization.
So
and
she didn't know she was helping Spectre.
I thought she did. That's why the reason why she was supposed to sleep with Bond. Remember?
No. She thought she was helping. She thought it was all a Russian operation.
No. Kleb.
Hello?
Lab was a double agent for Spectre in Russia, so
Yeah, I'm still
in the
here.
Soviet Union.
Yeah. Every day. Go ahead.
Well, I just say, Kleb was a double agent. She was working for Spectre in the Soviet Union, and that girl thought it was an order from the Soviet Union. She had no idea of Spectre's involvement.
Okay.
Yeah, they specifically mention it in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm repeating myself again. But yeah, they mentioned that Kleb. They mentioned that Kleb is that no one really knew that she was defected from the Russians.
Yeah, I just liked also the fact is that she's conflicted. So in the train sequence, like when Bond figures it out and he's really ticked off, you feel bad for the lady as well. So you can't just say shoot her and that's it, or from the guy from Jurassic Park, shoot her.
Tatiana Romanov, something like that. Can't speak.
It was also interesting with the necktie she wore in most of the scenes. It was actually kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe I'm taking it too far, but
Not to mention hot.
Oh yeah, but that's a given. But I like how the necktie thing was kind of like, in a sense, it symbolically represents she's on a leash to all these organizations.
I never thought about it in that way.
It also doesn't help the main villainess is kind of like a bondage master kind of sense. So I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, that scene in her office is quite uncomfortable.
Yeah. In the book, she hit on her. She tried to seduce her in the book. Rosa Club did.
Now that would be hot too, but Club isn't that attractive, so
yeah, and also
it's creepy.
In the novel, she doesn't just hit on her. She tells her to leave for a minute. She tells her to leave for a minute. Then she comes back in, and Kleb is dressed in like some special kind of dress, and he's like holding a wine glass.
It was a nightie.
Yeah, a nightgown. She's all like, "Let's get to know each other better." But then Tatiana's all like, "I'm fucking out of here," and she runs.
Yeah, being how touchy the film industry was at the time, because if you just even mentioned lesbianism like that, it probably wouldn't have been an adult rated film.
It was already pretty adult for its time. I mean, they showed a bare ass.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't her ass though. That was an ass double.
Yeah, an ass. She lacked proper ass for that scene.
An ass double.
Yeah, so she wasn't a double agent or a triple agent another way too, huh?
Yeah.
But I think it was a great.
Well, it's actually, if you really want to go there, it wasn't even her voice. She was doing She couldn't really speak English very well, so there was someone else doing the voice over her.
So she.
Yeah, same with Ursula Andress.
And Goldfinger.
And Goldfinger.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's actually a pretty common thing for the series.
Yeah, back in the day.
Even the main villain of Thunderball had his voice dubbed over.
I'll be right back, guys. You guys keep on talking. I have to use the bathroom. Be right back.
All right.
Another plus we can say about From Russia with Love is the first time that John Barry got to do his music, because in Dr. No, it was really just the James Bond movie, the James Bond theme, and just a collection. Just a collection of like Caribbean themed pop songs. So in this movie, we really got to, Barry really created the signature Bond sound with big sweeping orchestra and brass.
Well, that was the advantage they had with this movie, because unlike Dr. No, they had a $2 million budget.
Ooh.
Because the first one did fairly well.
And yeah, speaking of music, this is the first Bond movie with an opening music video. I know, yeah. An opening theme, okay? Dr. No had it too, but had a music video, but this is the first one with its own original theme.
This was also the first one to have half-naked women in it, like they would normally have in the later one.
Yeah.
The first one was just kind of flashing fluorescent lights that would give seizures to the epileptic.
Seizure vision!
And then like dancing, just like the outline of dancing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another thing that I found kind of interesting about Dr. No, or not Dr. No, sorry, From Russia with Love. You're done with Dr. No. When you're talking about the music, they used the James Bond's theme pretty well overall when it came to like the right time and moment to use it. the one scene they used that was kind of weird for it and From Russia with Love is when he's searching his hotel room. He's just looking around. He's just kind of moseying around his hotel room, just looking around, looking for bugs. And then they have the theme song playing.
But hey, wouldn't you want the James Bond theme playing, walking around your room? Dun 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 dun.
Anything?
He was checking his traps, wasn't he? Because he trapped the room before he left to make sure. That way he would know if someone broke into it. Like he put a piece of hair on the door or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was
dark. Yeah. I get why he did. I'm not questioning him searching his room. It's just the fact that they used the James Bond theme while he's searching the room just felt so weird because. No, knowing James Bond, his chest hair is probably made of titanium.
Yeah.
Well, the point of the trap was no one would notice it except for him.
Oh yeah.
I think it was pretty neat. I liked that scene also because it really gave you that thought of espionage.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the other films really don't do that. It was kind of like Bond gets a room, do-da-do, he gets a lady, do-da-do. He finds
the later films were really more about the set pieces, the action, the saving the world, or maybe not the world, but like just lots of set pieces and action. This one was more about the espionage, the intrigue. It was more laid back. There wasn't so many action scenes.
And there was a couple instances of someone in the hotel room, like in Live and Let Die, there was the snake, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service, there was the bodyguard in Tracy's hotel room.
Oh yeah.
I think what's also great about this story is that it's not like end of the world kind of thing, nuclear war. It was really kind of like it was important for Bond to get this coded intelligence, but I think it's like a really it was nice not to say, oh, yeah, you're going to save the world again. You know, it's kind of like, you got to do this for a sec, for us, because it will benefit the British Secret Service, but that's about it. It was kind of like, it was a really minor thing. It was a kind of, in a sense, like, it'd be funny to think about in Bond's head. It's like, really, I'm doing this, I'm getting chased, getting shot, getting stabbed for just this little piece of dang thing.
Right. And I get annoyed when people criticize certain films because they don't have, the villain who's gonna blow up something or he's gonna take over the world. Live and Let Die or License to Kill, especially License to Kill. That movie gets raked over the flames. Living Daylights and
Actually, if you actually look at the Bond series overall, less than half the villains actually want to take over the world.
Yeah,
world domination. Something wrong?
No, he screamed, of course.
Oh, okay. Of course. World domination, same old dream.
I think also the ending sequence for the Bond was pretty clever. Also, the boat sequence, they're pouring all this fuel into the water and then they shoot it. I think that's actually pretty violent in a sense. I don't know, maybe it's just me and fire, but I think just that film when you see these guys on fire, it's kind of like, oof. It looked really rough.
Well, Bond want to impress his girlfriend. Hey, hi, check this out.
Yeah.
So I just let those fuckers on fire.
Yeah. I think I also.
I was just gonna say they actually got that explosion down in one take. Good, because obviously I don't think they could have enough money to try it again.
Another behind the scenes story about film. They were I think they filmed it up in Scotland, I believe, that lake scene, and Terrence Young, who directed this, and Dr. No, this was going to be his last Bond movie he directed, because Guy Hamilton would direct Goldfinger. He was in a helicopter, and the helicopter went down into the lake, and him and his pilot had to swim out, and then in an hour he was directing the scene.
Yeah, it just shows how cool Terrence Young was. He's like, oh well, I almost drowned today. Let's keep on filming.
They actually had a lot of bad luck with helicopters in the franchise. If you look into the history of filmmaking.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially with You Only Live Twice.
Oh yeah, buddy got his fucking leg chopped off.
Yeah,
almost.
That was Johnny Jordan, who was the aerial cameraman, and he did those great sequences for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. He hung from a helicopter to film those sequences, and he met a very tragic end. The production unit was in Portugal filming the opening and closing scenes of the movie, and Johnny Jordan was filming the movie Catch-22, and he was up in a bomber, and he got sucked out of the airplane, and he didn't have a parachute.
Oh man!
And it was just a couple days before they filmed the emotional finale of that movie. I think they were filming the scene where Drago's men take Bond from his hotel and they're going across that bridge, and that was when they learned that Jordan had been killed.
That stinks. Is there anything else we want to talk about from Russia with Love? But any scenes or any lines or anything that were memorable?
Red wine and fish. That should have told me something.
Is your clock right? Our clock is always right. Bang.
Had tricks.
What was the line with Red Grant about the Bond talking to Bond, kiss my foot thing?
The first bullet won't kill you, nor the second, not even the third, not until you crawl over here and you kiss my foot.
That was awesome.
It's kind of cheesy by today's standards.
But they built the character up so well that it's scary. He's like, he means it.
He's the perfect.
Oh, yeah.
He's the perfect.
That's also actually that whole scene marks, I guess, the beginning of a common thing in the series where the bad guy would have him with a gun, but instead of shooting him, they'd fucking talk.
Yeah, but I think. I'm sorry, Darkseid. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, he's they build up that he's the perfect villain, and in that scene they show his biggest flaw. He's got an ego.
Yeah, and I think, but at the same time, this is kind of like a feasible flaw for him, where the other Bond guys, I don't really, if a few other the Bond villains have, is that you see him. You see him in the very beginning of the movie. The very beginning of the movie is having Red Grant kill a Bond double. And you see him training for this, training for that, kill Bond, kill Bond, kill Bond, kill Bond. So in the sense that when he finally has it, it's kind of like he wants to make it memorable because it's kind of like, in a sense, this was too easy for him. And of course, Bond gets the drop on him because of that.
It kind of takes advantage of the guy's greed, too, with the whole gold sovereigns and the case thing.
Yeah. Is it Goldfinger time now?
I believe it is.
I'd say so. And now, with Goldfinger, we really get into where the series really took off, where all the famous quotes come from, where all the well-known staples of the series, and where Bond Mania started. I believe they called it.
Yeah. I think what was great was with the Bond theme it was a great Bond theme. I also liked how they I can't remember the From Russia with Love theme much, but I do remember with Goldfinger you have the Bond theme built into the song as well. So it's
Goldfinger.
Yeah, and I like the tambourine in the when they're doing the main theme of it. They had the tambourine playing along with the Bond theme as that once it gets to that part, and it sounded really, really cool.
He loves only gold.
The man with the Midas touch.
Yeah, my voice is gonna crack, Patrick.
Don't
Well,
deny. I know your secret.
oh,
Oh,
it's gonna be
Yeah.
different.
I
It's
could
gonna,
have been the one to feel it. No, of life.
Lie.
Oh,
gonna be
I could just smell the rating.
it's gonna be difficult for Secret Service because it's an awesome instrumental.